Hello, Dmitry.
Hello again.
Okay, so you have a new project that you want to tell me about. What is it?
Yeah, right. We are working on development of Instagram for overseas fashion shopping. With its help, you can basically uh, do what you can't do today if you are online customer. You're not able to buy something remotely at the retail stores somewhere in Europe or in the world. So basically, you have to be physically in a place of sale to benefit from, for example, sales or interesting proposals for your ideas. For now, there is only one marketplace, fashion marketplace, which we can put separately from others, because we are basically developing the alternative for the Farfetch, which is well famous um, fashion marketplace, which helps offline retailers with its assistance to put their trade offers online, and they charge 25% on top of the retailer's price. So when you buy it online from Ukraine, eventually it adds around 55% on the top of the retailer's price. There are lots of use cases. So, for example, if we take the Instagram, you can notice that there are lots of fashion influencers there who are proposing, maybe you noticed that before, proposing their followers to bring some fashion goods to them. And it's more even than popular in China, because it's in the culture code of Chinese people to have a luxury good, and it shows your social status. So when they know that somebody is traveling to Europe, they ask them to bring this for them from Europe. And usually the interest of those travelers is the value-added tax refund they are eligible to receive.
So I have some more questions specifically about the app. Well, first of all, what is it called again? Just for the video?
It's called ChePeer.
ChePeer. And it's ChePeer, like peer, like peer-to-peer, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Cool. So before I ask a little bit more about ChePeer, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? Like, what's your background and how did you come to this idea?
Okay, great. Thanks. Well, I'm how you say it, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've launched lots of businesses, but offline when I started my professional career. And these businesses were in travel business, in pharmacy, in network retailing. And then I had a period of my life when I worked for the government authorities. It took me around 6 years. I got a great experience there. But since some issues with my health, I was supposed to reconsider my professional occupation. And basically, that was my path to the idea, which was the birth of ChePeer, like it exists today. And this journey was started at the end of 2016. We had a team of me as a founder and 2 other co-founders. And for now, we're having 10 team members on board. We are about to launch MVP soon. We have confirmed through all this time all our core assumptions and developed and defined all key stakeholders which are important for our ecosystem. And we are almost ready to go. So we expect to ChePeer launch at December of 2019, at the end of this year.
Very exciting. Cool.
So and we want to propose our customers. We start from Ukraine and we cover main shopping centers in Europe, like London, like Paris, like Milan, like Barcelona in Spain, like Berlin. And then, since we move on developing developing an equilibrium of users in our system, then we will be ready to scale our model to other countries.
Do you have a timeline that you think that might take to be able to scale up to kind of a worldwide app?
Well, I think it will take us around 2 years to launch all the functions we expect to have at the final version of our product, and to work out the strategy of market penetration, because we are developing basically the Instagram for shopping, and it means that we are trying to create a complementary app for Instagram users who prefer to follow shopping ideas and shopping deals through the Instagram. So we allow our authors, when they publish their content with trade offers in Instagram, to realize double posting feature, basically just to type the hashtag of ChePeer. And if they are authorized through their Instagram account at ChePeer, basically it's going to be auto-posted there in ChePeer. So we expect this will result the awareness, because Instagram search engine is built on hashtag relevancy, and this will drive the elements, the members of Instagram community, who are the authors, professional sellers, and buyers, to our specific ecosystem for shopping purposes.
And you mentioned the app Farfetch, and I think that I just read very briefly about what it was. Can you say more about how ChePeer is different from Farfetch?
Yeah, sure. Business model of Farfetch depends on the rule that if you want, like a seller, like offline boutique or outlet, if you want to publish an offer there, you have to proceed your goods to Farfetch office. They will make pictures of those, and their service fee for that is 25% margin on the price of the retailer. You know what is the funniest thing here? When we made some control purchases through the Farfetch, we ordered 5 items from different stores. When we got them here in Kiev, in 4 or 5 boxes, there were flyers with a discount from 15 to 20%, which basically means that all these retailers who are partnering with Instagram, or with Farfetch, sorry, do not like this situation, because their final customers, final payers, has to pay more. So they propose this flyer with a discount, and they expect that the customers will make the next purchase from them directly. So I think this model was relevant at 2012, when actually the Farfetch was publicly launched, and they exist from 2009, if I'm not mistaken. Eventually, they raised around 1 billion of investments, and now their market capitalization is around more than 5 billions of dollars. And I think this business model is really old, and people are not the hostages of business models that are irrelevant for now.
Can you say more about what your business model is in contrast?
Yeah, exactly. Well, ChePeer says that it takes only 7% of commission on the cost of a good. Also, there is an interest of author who publishes trades offers. Author regularly gets 3% of the price of a published good, and when the discount of this trade offer is 20 and more percent, then the author receives 5% of the commission when the deal is closed.
So just to clarify, so being an author means I go to a store, I see a deal for something that's 20% off, I take a photo of it and put it on Instagram, and then put the hashtags and stuff like that, and then people can actually follow my lead, kind of, and then I get a 3% to 5% commission from that. Is that right?
Exactly. And basically, everybody who is about to earn some spare money can do that. When we tested this assumption through the shop assistants at all these Europe stores and outlets, we wanted to know how interesting this idea for them is. And we were really surprised with the results, because they think it's double win for them. Because on one hand, you earn extra money from doing the same. Basically, you're advising people and help them to make sale decision like a shop assistant. So basically here, creating content, you're doing basically the same, but you have an option to earn from 3 to 5%. On the other hand, you're a good worker for your employer because you're doing your work good. You make offers, they drive shoppers, they interact with you as a shop assistant, you close the deals, everyone is happy.
So you're imagining that like some of the most frequent users of this kind of app might be even people who work in those retail stores and kind of are the first ones to see the deals.
Exactly, and they also are best fit for the relevancy of the content. So when something is out of stock, they can just update the status or publish new one. Why not?
Very cool. So can you tell me more about how you came to decide to build on Holochain?
Well, I've been discovering the space because last 3 years I was so astonished and inspired with all this stuff with crypto and tokenomics and modeling scenarios of users' interactions and intensifying their behavior. So I was so inspired about the range of possibilities here to create resilient and self-evolving ecosystems with a range of these incentives and tools. That was really cool. And that's what inspired my search. And through that search, I found out about Holochain. I've been also among the early investors. since they announced the hackathon in Amsterdam, I didn't hesitate to make the decision to go and to meet all these great people. And well, this decision brought me here. We are now talking because when I met Arthur and Eric and other guys from Holochain, I decided to give us a try to realize that functions on Holochain, because in the face of our business model challenges, they seemed to be a perfect solution for us. Why? Because if we want to solve with a distributed ledger technologies the problem and issue of trust between people, to intensify development of P2P economies. So we expect the technology to solve problems of scaling. As we know, traditional blockchains are not good fit for those purposes, especially when you have lots of users, lots of interactions, lots of content. So basically this search brought me to Holochain. And as far as our business model depends on the digital product cards, which is a key element of all the ecosystem. So basically, all the interactions are built around these digital product cards, which can also be the asset for the user, because when you have this card, you know where this good was bought, when, for what price. So it basically opens up the possibility for shopper to resell that good. And it's going to be easy to do because all the history, the origin and the price is known, and it's kept in this digital card. So when we can realize that scenario, we can do it with Holochain, because Holochain infrastructure is perfectly suited for that purpose. Lots of content, lots of cards, lots of rights, lots of ownership rights for those cards. Opens up a range of combinations what to do and the sources of value for the end users here. So basically we expect that Holochain eventually help us to develop our business model and to help it to evolve with the help of incentives and models of added value distribution that accrues from users when they deliver ecosystems goals. It means that you have to be with a good behavior, and you should help to solve the issues, whether you are author of the content or you are traveler who would like to help with goods proceeding. You will have your reputation, which will define the range of your opportunities, and we expect that while developing our currency, we will program our currency to be able to realize all that functionality.
Can you say more about the currency that you're planning to develop and what features it might have?
Well, it's a really amazing journey, because we are creating something that nobody before created. So we have settled our goals, what we expect to have from our currency. And we also have the range of the assumptions. But if we well, we basically expect to utilize Holochain technologies on with two stages. On the first stage, we call it core. We expect to solve business challenges of identification, which contains of users' personal data storage, like Instagram account, email, or phone number. And for our shopping agents, we expect to have a KYC. So Holochain being GDPR compliant seems to be a optimal solution here.
Just to make sure, just because some people listening might have missed that. So GDPR, I don't remember what it stands for, but it's around data protection for consumers, right?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, if you are the owner of your personal data, you don't have such a problem like GDPR compliance. So that was a real issue and pain point for us how to solve that. But with onboarding Holochain technology, this problem could be solved just like. So that's the main thing we expect to have from Holochain at the first stage. We also expect to realize our reputation system that will allow the ownership of the reputation, also scoring and the storage with the capacities of Holochain. And we also expect to host all digital product parts that will be created in a ChePeer ecosystem. We expect them to contain the information like I mentioned before, the origin, initial price, history of actions, if there was a resale of this item, and also confirm the ownership. And with the Holochain, we expect also to keep this data, to store the data. And with our native currency, we expect to realize the range of incentives to speed up the virality and network effect. So this is basically the main core stage of the functions and the Holochain possible implementation. On the second stage, we expect to solve the problem of cross-border payments, which are still really high, the cost for them. We preliminary expect to have two currencies on board. One is native currency Chi, which is a utility currency. Well, we also have lots of functions described about them. So let me open my. So we expect that our utility currency will grant 5 main options. It's about rights, it's about value exchange, it's about toll, function, and earnings. And we also expect to implement Holofuel when it's going to be launched as a currency, as a payment and transaction unit. So basically, currencies Chi and Holofuel are the units of the value and price for users' self-management of ChePeer's business model, interaction with products and other users, and rewards and benefits distribution between all involved parties. And we also expect that our users will be able easily to exchange Chi and for Holofuel and back within our hybrid app.
Very cool. Wow, I'm excited to actually see this up and running and to to see to learn more about the currency and how it might work, and to actually see people using it. There's one thing that's been in the back of my mind, even before I started talking to you when I first heard about it. The first thing that came up for me was a question around the industry of fashion itself. So I've recently read that what is called like fast fashion has a really big environmental cost. And even, I mean, part of the concern about that environmental cost is the concern about consumer capitalism more generally, and it being kind of like the imperative to consume more and more is fundamentally unsustainable and problematic. I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about that with regard to your app.
Yeah, sure. We're really thinking about that. And the logic we propose for our users is about the ability to give their belongings when they bought through the ChePeer is a second life. So when you have a resell option function, and when there is confirmed and trustful data about the origin and the price initial and the price of the purchase and the time when it was bought. So basically it enables the owner to resell it, solving trust issue for the origin of this item. Of course, there might be an examples of bad behaviors, but we are developing our reputation system in such a design that will allow, control, and reflect all the outcomes of users' activity in their reputation ratio. So when you are a user with a sound and healthy behavior, more options and opportunities are going to be open for you within the ecosystem.
Very cool. I'm really happy to hear that you have already thought about that, and that you have this already planned out, some function to be able to give clothes a second or a third life. And it sounds like it could be a way for people to actually, for it to be incentivized. So if someone buys, I mean, I've noticed that at like secondhand stores, sometimes there's stuff there that probably was worth like hundreds of dollars, and it's being sold for like 20 bucks or something, which is great for me if I want to get a really nice coat for 20 bucks or something. But the people who bought that originally, it sounds like they can maybe retain some more of the value when they sell it again, if they have a good record of where it came from and how much it originally costs and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And it will help you to buy more and more. You don't have to. Another side of fashion shopping and branded shopping is that when you pay more, usually more, because fashion and branded goods are valuable. But when you have a good, valuable thing, which is wearable, and it can serve you for years. So you don't have to buy more and more when you have something one which is in a good condition, in a good form, and you can wear it for years. So from this aspect that you can resell the good and have the value from it. And on the other side, you are about to consume less if you have more less goods, but with high quality.
Cool. I wanted to rewind a bit because I think that I may have interrupted before you finished explaining the full ecosystem of users. So earlier you had mentioned about how there's the author, who actually is the one who takes the photo and displays what the deal might be. And then, of course, ChePeer takes the 7% cut for commission. and then there must be someone who goes in and actually buys the product and ships it. So can you say more about that part?
Yeah. When we start, just to build an efficient strategy of the growth, we would like to focus our attention on core elements. Core elements, key stakeholders here are authors and shoppers. So we expect to board them with our double posting feature, and at the early beginning, to make sure that all these deliveries and logistics is running properly, we expect to have our own personal ChePeer travelers that will regularly fly to the Europe and will interact with our representatives at all these shopping cities around the Europe. On next stages, we will also partnering with professional shopping agents who started dealing with us like authors of the content. When we see that their karma, which depends on the quality, on how you curate your content, how good it is, whether it contains all the required fields to be filled. So if it's good, your karma is rising. When your karma reached some point, you can apply to ChePeer to become a certified partner as a professional shopping agent, and you can also join the army of travelers of ChePeer who are traveling to Europe. So we see the synergy here, because there are some cases if our partner shopping agent is traveling to Europe and we have some shoppings there to be picked up, so he can take it, or she, and vice versa. If our traveler is going somewhere where our partner needs something to be picked up, it can be also done in that way. So we expect it will also grow the efficiency of logistics. And later on, we expect to activate this function for being involved into the process of delivery. So every user could do that. Of course, we will expect from users to be active in the ecosystem, or like author or like shopper, to make sure that we can trust you, that you have proven as a user your attitude and good behavior. So we are not going to just open all the doors and windows and see and expect what will happen. Now we are going to curate the growth like a small nurture, like a small child. And because we know all the bottlenecks we could face through the implementation and the growth. So we learned the bad experiences, especially of lots of projects.
So having that experience, being a serial entrepreneur, you kind of have a sense of what to expect in terms of some challenges you might face, it sounds like.
Yeah, of course, your experience matters here, of course. The idea was formed in 2017, and all this time while we were checking core assumptions, I was also hunting for the best possible way to build the product. I had two options here. I could go to dev shop, which seemed to be an easy option, and to outsource all the development there, because when you form your team, it usually costs you more. And if you are in bootstrap mode, it always makes difference for your budgeting. Well, and I was in process of searching for the best way to build the product almost 2 years. I had lots of chances to jump on developers shops, but I'm happy I had enough of belief to meet the right people. And now we have a perfect, young, amazing, with bright-minded, with great competences people that are really share my inspiration about ChePeer and how it's going to change, to shift the abilities for people, for our users. Because actually, if you're a young girl studying in a university, you don't have lots of options to earn money because you depend on your schedule. So when you like shopping and you like spend time going through the shops, you can extract value from that and make some extra money, pocket money.
Cool. So before I end the recording, is there anything else you wish I had asked about, or anything else you want to share?
Yes, I expect. Actually, I'm working on a. I expected to have like a pitch, but eventually it looks like a small methodology about our experience and our way as a startup while we were thinking what's the best possible option and scenario, how to de-risk development process, how to make it efficient in terms of money spent. And all these ideas and all these insights we go through this way, I would like to share them with the community for public discussion. Also, I would like to create a use case and ChePeer take as an example of validated learning when we are discussing the ecosystem core elements with the community and sharing our ideas on how to build currency design, how to create the sense and the value for the token in every particular in every particular case. So I would like just to share what we were developing all this time, and I consider this can be valuable for the startup teams who are hesitating about starting the building on Holochain. So I want just to put more light on things that are not always as clear as we would like them to be.
So how can people either get in touch with you to talk about these kinds of things, or to learn more about ChePeer's design and learn from it themselves?
Well, I expect we will develop this methodology even more deeper with together with guys from Holochain, with David and Eric. Since we will settle the final version of the draft, well, I will open it for the community. Everybody will be able to have it.
And just to clarify, are you talking about kind of like a separate project aside from ChePeer that's kind of like a community of developers or something like that? Or is it more just you want to be able to share with people what you've experienced so that others can learn in an informal way?
Yeah, you keep asking really good questions, and you're reading between the lines. Well, I proposed the topic of this meetup in Kiev, where I propose to discuss with tech and startup bright minds of Ukraine possibilities of creation hubs on top of Holochain. So combining these core elements, your unfair competitive advantage of the price of the development with efficient startup teams that are creating great products, being supported by the community who can play as an early adopters, helping optimize the costs of your development and evaluation of your core assumptions, because it's always about the money. So this methodology is going to be about all of these kind of things, how to put it right, and how to choose the proper timing for that, because the proper timing also makes sense.
Can you, I think that you had mentioned this thing about the unfair competitive advantage before I think it was before we started recording, but I can't remember. But could you just say again what you're referring to when you talk about the unfair competitive advantage?
Well, we all know that the development costs are really high. And in US, it's around $100 per hour. And in Europe, it's about $60 per hour. In Ukraine, the development cost of an hour of a Rust developer starts from $30. So it's 2 times cheaper comparatively to Europe, and 3 times cheaper comparatively to US. So it makes sense when you know that your development process in the most costly part for the startup, when you can connect the development cost, efficient development cost, with efficient teams and bright ideas, you can eventually create products customers love with much less expenditures on the development.
Okay, so I think that we can call it there. Thank you so much for joining, Dmitry. And
I'm happy that you found some time for me.
yeah, and I'm super happy to meet you and really looking forward to what you're creating.